Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be talking a little bit today about kind of rules for card making, or rules when it comes to balancing out your art, your card making. This might be scrapbooking, it might be art journals. And I just want to kind of run you through that a little bit today, the rules that I tend to follow for myself anyway. Now this is the Gina K Masking Magic, and this one is my favorite because I know I've said this time and time again, it's worth investing in a good masking paper, and in this case, this is the one that I recommend because masking is one of those things that when you lift up that masking paper, you want to see a really beautiful, clean, crisp line. Having bleeding and kind of things seeping underneath is a little bit frustrating. It definitely is for me anyway. It just has the ability to hold up to so much ink and so many re-inkings and water and all sorts of things without seeping. So this is my favorite. But anyhow, back to the rules that I tend to kind of follow. Now, I don't like to say rules because there's probably always a case when a rule should be broken as well. And art is free, and it's up for you to decide what you do and do not like, and it's what makes you happy. So I don't like saying the word rules. That makes me uncomfortable to begin with. But I guess the guidelines that I tend to follow for myself would be that if I have a bold background, then I'm going to have a softer focal point. And if I'm going to have a softer background, then I want to have a bold focal point. I don't want them competing. I find that that doesn't work well for the eye. Your eye kind of is all over the place. It doesn't know where it's meant to focus. There's so much going on. And again, please don't take this as these are the rules that you should follow or the guidelines that you should follow. This is simply how I do my card making and how I feel like I like cards to be balanced. So here I am choosing Cheerful and Tulip Red, and these are two really bold colors. These are pretty bright. I've put on a pretty heavy application of them, but look at these beautiful, bold, crisp lines that we are getting when we remove the masking tape. So that's definitely what I was after. The one at the bottom has a little kink there, the bottom right hand corner, because I had to use 2 pieces of masking tape because I ripped it too short. Now this one here, this is my old faithful. This is the Petal Trio stamp set, and if you haven't seen this one on my channel before, then I'm not sure where you've been at all, because this is probably, I mean, I've done 20, I don't know, plus videos using this on my channel. These stamps are large, they stamp beautifully, and these are worth investing in. If you haven't seen this range of Woodware stamps, there is, I mean, I probably have 6 or 7 of them maybe, a really good price point, because even though they are a larger stamp, and they just work for so many things. There's so many different ways you can chop them up and use them in so many different applications for card making or for your art. I don't mean literally chop them up. I do keep them whole as one step, but I just mean when you are stamping and using those flowers and using the leaves. And as I said, I will link to a few of these down below that I have and have used, and maybe even I'll link to some videos if you're interested. There is just so many that I have done using this line. Now I am popping some clear embossing powder over top here, and I wanted to get 2 lots of stamps popped on here, so that's why I kind of popped this one right up the top corner, and then I was a bit worried I was going to stamp over it, so I actually just want that middle flower. So I cut off that piece just so I could grab that big middle flower. These flowers are absolutely gorgeous. As I said, they can be used for so many things, but because my background is so bold, I want to keep these flowers really light and simple. And by simple, I mean simple. All I'm going to do is take a finger dauber and very gently put a tiny little bit of ink around the center, and that is all I'm going to do for these flowers. It gives them a little hint of color, but not so much that you're not sure where to look on the page. So even though I do have white space on my background today, it still is a really bright, because of how much ink I chose to put on the application, the colors. I chose to use pigment inks for blending today just because I wanted it to be so bright and bold. You could definitely, if I wanted to go lighter, use some distress inks or distress oxides, or even a watercolor wash over top of those strips would look beautiful. Anything, if I wanted the flowers to be really bright, like if I had used those red and yellow inks on the flowers, Then even I would have done like a muted grey or something greys and blues kind of background, something really, really dull and just toned down and muted so that my flowers were the massive, big, bold statement on the front of my page. But for this one in particular, we are going the other way around. And here for that second big flower that I stamped, this is purely going to be dimension. So I'm actually cutting out some of the petals, so it looks a little bit funny. There's only 3 petals on that flower. Then again, in my little stamping platform, this is my favorite stamping platform out of every one of the brands I have tried. I have pretty much all of them, all of the big name brands, and this one by far is my favorite. I do have a review on this somewhere. It's a little way back and I'll see if I can find it. It's a little bit tricky, but all of the reasons why I love this stamping platform, it has those feet so you can kind of get ready to press down, and then you press down and just the stamping is beautiful. It takes rubber stamps, it takes clear stamps, it is just a really strong, it does have a magnetic base to it, but I use the Sizzix sticky grid sheets in it, and that way I don't have to use any magnets at all. Now, to keep this card super simple, I'm using the All Occasions Paper Rose sentiment set here, and again, this has just been like a life hack for me, like a cheat. Not having to stamp out sentiments all the time is actually a nice little break for me. I didn't think I would like these, but the variation in these is just absolutely amazing, and there is multiples of everything. Happy Nurses Day, Happy Earth Day, we appreciate all you do, Happy Father's Day, Halloween, congratulations on your new home, congratulations on your new baby, happy baby boy, you know, like there's just everything. Absolutely everything, and multiples of everything. So for the price of these, I think this is a really good investment. I've definitely changed my tune once I actually purchased these and tried these. Yeah, I think I am sold on them. Don't get me wrong, I still have sentiment stamps and things, and I won't get rid of those anytime soon. I absolutely love all of my sentiment stamps, and there is a place and a time for most of them. Even though I have a really small craft space, these have made it in, and I think they are here to stay. It'll take me a fair while to use these up. These have lasted me a long time. I've never bought any more packs other than the original 2 I bought months and months ago, and if you've been watching my videos, you will see them a lot. So they have lasted me very well. Now here I decided to do something just ever so slightly different. Now this is just different for me. I'm sure it's not a wow factor for you, but just something a little bit different for me. I am very straightforward when it comes to my card making, and I tend to like, you know, that nice bold black outline just because we've used some black stamping there on the front of the card. But for today I decided to kind of offset it so that when, instead of having a tiny little black border around the entire outside, I'm going to move this up into the right so that I kind of only have a border on the left and bottom. Then I'm going to do exactly the same thing when I pop it down onto my card base so that there is only a border on the left and the bottom. Now again, this is just personal preference, and you can absolutely do it the normal way as well. Just something a little bit different for me. So everything is pushed to the top and right hand side of that card base. The card base is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And this is where we are going to come and layer on our really plain and simple flowers. By stamping my stamp down onto my card front there, it meant that I didn't have to worry about all of those leaves and things. They were already stamped down. I don't have to fussy cut them, and they complete the image. So I'm using some liquid glue. This is the Ranger Matte Medium. I'm just going to flip this upside down and cut off those excess little pieces. And then of course remember that we did that excess flower that is going to go in the middle. It looks a bit funny at the moment, but this provides pure dimension to the card. And of course you can skip this step, but it's going to layer up, and then that way when you turn it, it just really gives that card some dimension. So I did pop it up on a little bit of foam tape. Then just because the sentiment is white as well, they do of course have white sentiments on a black background, so kind of the opposite of this, but I decided that I would just give this the same border that I had given the actual card front. So I'm going to push this to the top right hand side of my little scrap piece of black here, and then I will snip this so that there is a border to the left and bottom of this, just so it kind of is in keeping with the rest of the card. Now this is a really simple card to put together and nothing absolutely mind-blowing, but I thought I would share with you my kind of rules for how I tend to balance out cards, a few little hacks around adding dimension, and the sentiment strips that I use. But thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know your kind of guidelines for card making or for scrapbooking or art journaling. And let me know down in the comment section down below if you have any kind of general guidelines. I don't like the word rules, I think that's really strong, but I mean guidelines for how you tend to make things work or look pleasing to your eye at least. So thank you so much for joining me. I will link to all of the supplies down in the description box below this video, as well as ways that you can support me as a YouTube content creator, and my address if you want to send me some mail. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!